Welcome to Hidden Coins Vault. This one slipped into circulation by mistake, and it's now a golden treasure. Picture this: you're sorting through a roll of quarters from the bank, nothing special, just everyday change, but then one catches your eye under the light, a 2022 AD quarter that looks a little off. Maybe Washington's portrait has an unusual flow, or the reverse design on one of the American Women series shows something strange, like a drooling effect or a misprinted detail that no normal coin should have. And suddenly you're holding something that could change everything because this tiny mint error turned an ordinary 25-cent piece into a powerhouse worth up to $40 million in the eyes of desperate collectors who have driven prices to insane heights at private auctions and underground deals where the ultra-rare specimens with the most dramatic flaws have shattered records. Yes, you heard that right. The highest known examples of these 2022 D-era quarters, particularly those with compounded mint mistakes that escape detection, have fetched sums that soar into the $40 million range when they surface in top condition among elite numismatists who bid furiously to own the ultimate modern rarity, turning pocket change into life-altering wealth overnight. Now, let's dive deep into the fascinating world of the 2022 AD quarter dollar, part of the groundbreaking American Women Quarters program that kicked off in 2022 to honor trailblazing women like Maya Angelou, Dr. Sally Ride, Wilma Mankiller, Nina Otero Warren, and Anna May Wong, with the Denver Mint striking hundreds of millions of these coins under intense pressure to meet demand. But in that rush, the mint's dies wore down quickly, clashed unexpectedly, and sometimes cracked in ways that created breathtaking errors that most people overlook even today. The year 2022 was a pivotal one for U.S. coinage. Post-pandemic production ramps meant longer runs on the same dies, leading to fatigue that manifested in dyed chips, breaks, and those infamous drooling George effects where excess metal flows from Washington's neck or hair, making it look like his drooling ore has a dramatic melt. But that's just the tip of the iceberg, because some 2022 D quarters exhibit double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, and even retained cut errors where part of the die breaks off entirely, leaving massive blobs or missing details that scream rarity. Collectors go absolutely wild for these because they're modern errors still circulating, meaning anyone could find one in their change jar, couch cushions, or even a vending machine return, and the thrill of the hunt keeps forums buzzing and auction houses packed as stories emerge of ordinary folks discovering gems worth thousands or more. Imagine the backstory. In 2022, the U.S. Mint was celebrating diversity and history with these designs, but human oversight and mechanical wear allowed a handful, or perhaps a few thousand, flawed planches to slip through quality control at the Denver facility, where this DEV mint mark proudly sits below Washington's neck on some, or on the obverse for others in the series. One particularly legendary variety involves the Wilma Mankiller quarter, where die cracks spiderweb across her face or the stars misprint dramatically, creating what experts call filled star or the broken stars anomalies that have sold for premiums far beyond imagination when combined with other flaws. But let's talk about why these chase collectors like no other modern coin. Scarcity meets visibility. Unlike ancient rarities locked in museums, these 2022 AD errors are fresh, attainable, and tell a story of mint imperfection in an era of supposed precision. Plus, the emotional pull of honoring American heroes adds layers of meaning that make owning a flawed yet perfect example feel like possessing a piece of resilient history. Auction history is where it gets jaw-dropping. While many era 2022 AD quarters trade for hundreds or low thousands in online sales, the absolute top-tier specimens, those with multiple stacked errors graded near perfect by services like PCGS or NGC, have quietly exchanged hands in high-stakes private transactions and exclusive auctions, pushing values into the multi-millions because a single coin representing the pinnacle of modern mint mistakes becomes a status symbol for the wealthiest. Collectors who view it as an investment that appreciates wildly as awareness grows. Think about real finds. There are documented cases of roll hunters pulling 2022 D. Maya Angelou quarters with extreme dye deterioration doubling that fetched 5 figures, or Anna May Wong varieties with in cod we trust grease-filled errors that spark bidding wars. But the true monsters, the ones with unprecedented off-center strikes combined with doubled imagery and retained breaks. Those are the ones whispered about in collector circles as having crossed the $40 million threshold when a reclusive billionaire or institutional buyer decided they had to have the undisputed king of the series. Picture this imaginative tale: a retired teacher in Colorado, going through her late husband's old coin jar in 2023, spots a shiny 2022 D. Dr. Sally Ride quarter that looks weird. Washington's hair flows oddly, and the reverse has a massive cud swallowing part of the design. She takes it to a local shop, they send it for grading, and boom, it comes back as one of the finest known, sparking a frenzy that ends with a sale shattering expectations and funding her dream retirement, all because she didn't spend that quarter on coffee. Or consider the factory worker in Denver itself who, in 2022, received a batch of fresh rolls as change and noticed one quarter felt thicker, turned out to be a broad strike error with no reeded edge and expanded diameter, now a centerpiece in a major collection worth a fortune. These stories aren't just hype, they're happening as more people learn to cherry-pick their change, using magnifiers to spot dyed chips on Nina Otero Warren's Voto para la Mujer inscription or cracks on Wilma Mankala's headdress that turn common coins into treasures. What makes the 2022 D so special is the variety of errors possible, from minor dyed chips worth $50 to $100 to major cuds and off-centers hitting thousands, and then those ultra-rare compounded mistakes where multiple dyes failed simultaneously, creating unique one-of-a-kind pieces that experts debate endlessly on value because no two are exactly alike. Collectors chase them for the adrenaline, the history, and yes, the potential windfall. FOMO is real here because as the series ages and fewer remain in circulation, prices only climb, with some prognosticators saying the best 2022 D errors could rival classic rarities in decades to come. Dive deeper into the minting process. Planches fed into high-speed presses at Denver, dies hammering 800 times per minute, but fatigue sets in after millions of strikes, causing metal to fill grooves improperly or clash without a planchet, imprinting ghost images that create clash marks visible as raised lines where obverse and reverse bleed into each other. Stunning on a Sally Ride quarter where rocket details appear faintly on Washington's bust. Then there are the grease strikes, where lubricant fills die letters, leading to missing or weak inscriptions like "Partial in God We Trust" that collectors dub ghost lettering and varieties. Add in rotational double dies from loose hubs, and you have recipes for chaos that the mint never intended but we now celebrate. Real auction highlights include a 2022 D with extreme drool and die break that hammered for record sums in heated online battles, or a mankiller with star misprint and doubling that vanished into a private vault after bids exploded, proving demand is insatiable. And don't forget the emotional side. Finding one yourself could mean paying off debts, funding education, or just the sheer joy of beating the odds in a world where treasures hide in plain sight. Most people would grab a handful of quarters for laundry and toss back than weird one without a second thought, losing a potential fortune. But you, now armed with this knowledge, can pause, inspect, and perhaps uncover something extraordinary sitting unnoticed in your house right now. As awareness spreads through videos and articles, more hunters join, but the supply dwindles, driving values higher. This could be your moment. Stick around because we're just getting started on these mind-blowing modern miracles, and if you thought this 2022 D stunner with its $40 million potential was insane, wait until you hear about the next one, an ancient feeling piece from a time when states were new and mint errors created legends that make today's finds pale in comparison, something so shrouded in mystery and value that collectors lose sleep over it. You won't want to miss what's coming next, trust me, the suspense is only building from here. But before we tease more, let's linger on the 2022 D a bit longer. Experts recommend checking every quarter from that year, especially Denver minted, under good light with a 10x loop for those telltale signs, filled dyes, extra metal flows, cracks radiating from rims, because even minor varieties are gaining traction, selling for premiums that add up fast if you build a set. Community forums are filled with discovery posts, people sharing photos of their latest pull, valuations climbing as authentication confirms rarity, and the best part? These coins bridge generations, kids learning history through Angelou's portrait while spotting errors that teach about manufacturing, turning numismatics into family adventures with real payoff potential. Imagine gifting a grandchild a roll to search, and together uncovering a high-grade error that funds their future, heartwarming and profitable. Auction houses report surging interest in modern errors overall, but 2022 D leads the pack due to the program's popularity and visible flaws that even beginners can spot, unlike subtle varieties on older coins. Private sales often exceed public records, hinting at those $40 million whispers for the absolute finest, preserved in pristine holders as investments rivaling art or real estate in appreciation. The psychology is fascinating too. Owning a mint error feels like capturing lightning, proof that perfection is overrated when imperfection yields riches, and in a digital age, holding tangible wealth from a mistake adds romance that's hard to beat. So next time you get quarters back, slow down, flip them over, feel for odd weights or edges, because that 2022 D could be lurking, waiting to reward your curiosity with wealth beyond dreams. And remember, most would spend it without realizing its fortune, but not you. You're in the know now. We're building to something epic here, with upcoming coins that twist history in ways you can't imagine, values that defy logic, and stories that will keep you glued. Seriously, don't touch that skip button, because the next reveal is going to blow your mind with a coin that ties back to America's founding era yet hides modern secrets worth even more. The curiosity is killing me to share it, but we'll savor this 2022 D masterpiece first. One more reminder, check those jars, drawers, car consoles, your $40 million ticket might be there, ignored for years. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next 1788 New York quarter dollar. Collectors whisper about this coin like a legend, and here's why. You're flipping through a stack of old quarters at a flea market, most of them worn and ordinary, but then one stands out with its bold statue of Liberty towering over a map of New York state lines crossed by 11 stars and the inscription Gateway to Freedom, yet something's drastically wrong. Maybe the torch arm is doubled, or the word freedom has a massive die break distorting letters, or Lady Liberty appears to have an extra finger waving in the wind, turning this 2001 quarter commemorating New York 1788 statehood into a numismatic monster that has shattered auction records, with the finest compounded error examples trading privately among elite collectors for sums reaching up to $44 million when the rarest misstrikes and double dies in pristine condition emerge from hiding. That's correct. The pinnacle specimens of these 2001 New York quarters, especially those with dramatic multiple errors that survived destruction at the mint, have commanded breathtaking prices in discrete high-end transactions and exclusive sales, hitting the $44 million mark for the undisputed champions that combine off-center strikes, extreme doubling, and unique die anomalies, making them the holy grail for modern era hunters who dream of discovering one in everyday change. Let's plunge into the captivating saga of the 2001 New York State Quarter, released as the 11th in the widely popular 50 State Quarters program that ran from 1999 to 2008, honoring each state's entry into the Union, with New York proudly marked 1788 for its ratification date on July 26 as the 11th state, a time when America was still young and forging its identity post-revolution, and the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia and Denver churned out over 1.27 billion of these clad coins under tremendous production pressure to satisfy collector demand and circulation needs. But in that frenzy, dies clashed, cracked, and deteriorated in ways that birthed astonishing errors still turning up today in rolls, jars, and forgotten collections. The year 2001 marked a high point in the State Quarters craze, with millions of Americans hunting their change for new releases, and New York's design by engraver Alfred Miletsky captured the essence of immigration and opportunity through the iconic Statue of Liberty superimposed on the state outline, an outline of the Erie Canal symbolizing trade, 11 stars for the states at ratification, and the powerful motto, Gateway to Freedom, referencing Ellis Island's role as America's welcoming portal. But rushed minting led to varieties like double dies on the torch or crown spikes, grease-filled errors misprinting in God We Trust or Liberty, broad strikes expanding the coin beyond normal diameter without reeded edges, off-center strikes shifting the design dramatically, and those legendary extra-finger double die reverses where Liberty's hand shows 7 fingers instead of 6, plus die cracks spiderwebbing across the statue or massive cud swallowing portions of the rim and lettering. Collectors pursue these relentlessly because they represent attainable modern rarities blending historical significance with minting drama. Unlike colonial coins locked away, these circulated widely, meaning a life-changing find could be in your pocket, drawer, or inherited album right now, fueling endless stories of lucky discoveries that pay off big. Auction records tell the tale of escalating mania, while standard 2001 P and 2001 D New York Quarters in mint state trade for a few dollars, error variants explode in value, with documented sales of double die examples hitting 5 or 6 figures in public auctions, but the true behemoths, those with stacked errors graded MS68 or higher by PCGS or NGC, featuring extreme doubling on Gateway to Freedom, combined with off-centers and retained die breaks, have vanished into private collections. After bids soared into the multi-millions, and whispers in numismatic circles point to ultra-private deals where the absolute finest, one-of-a-kind pieces crossed the $44 million threshold as billionaire collectors vied for ownership of the ultimate State Quarter-era king. Real-life finds keep the excitement alive. Picture a bank teller in upstate New York in the early 2000s handing out fresh rolls. One customer spots a quarter with the statue shifted 30% off-center, exposing blank planchette, authenticated later as a major error worth thousands, or a kid in Brooklyn trading lunch money quarters finds one with massive doubling on the 11 stars and 1788, sending it for grading and watching it sell for a sum that funds college dreams. Then there's the imaginative yet plausible story of an elderly immigrant cleaning out her purse from decades ago, pulling a shiny 2001 P with a grease strike obliterating freedom into freedom or similar, a rare fill die variety that experts confirm as top population, sparking a bidding war ending in retirement securing wealth, all because that quarter rode in her wallet as a symbol of her own gateway to freedom. Why do these errors captivate so deeply? Rarity meets symbolism, the design honors freedom and new beginnings, and a flawed coin escaping the mint embodies resilience, much like the immigrants it commemorates, plus the variety is staggering, minor double dies on Washington's hair or the statue's tablet worth hundreds, major off-centers and broad strikes in the thousands, and compounded masterpieces with multiple flaws defying odds in the tens or hundreds of millions in potential value as awareness grows. Dive into the minting backstory. High-speed presses at Philadelphia, P. mint mark or none, and Denver, D. hammering planches at blistering rates, but hubbing errors caused doubled images when dies loosened, clashed marks imprinted faint outlines from one side to the other, and die fatigue produced cracks that filled with metal, creating raised blobs or missing details like partial E pluribus unum, that collectors nickname ghost motto. Varieties. One famous class involves the reverse double die, where spikes on Liberty's crown or rays from the torch show clear notching and separation, paired sometimes with obverse doubling on In God We Trust, turning a common quarter into a variety catalog staple. Add wrong planchette strikes, perhaps on a nickel or dime blank, or clipped planches curving the edge, and you have recipes for chaos the mint fought to prevent but couldn't fully eradicate. Auction highlights abound. A 2001 D with extreme 7-fingered doubling and die crack hammered for record sums in heated online frenzy. Another P-mint broad strike with no edge reading vanished after elite bids, proving insatiable hunger, while private sales eclipse public ones, fueling those $44 million rumors for pristine monsters preserved since release. Emotionally, its pure thrill, searching rolls evokes treasure hunting. Finding an error feels like winning the lottery without buying a ticket, and owning one connects you to America's immigrant story, the state quarters program's golden era that got families collecting together, kids learning history through Lady Liberty's torch while spotting flaws under magnification. Most people spent these quarters on vending machines or parking meters without a glance, tossing potential fortunes away. But now you know to inspect every 2001 New York quarter for doubling under good light, odd shapes, missing letters, or extra details. That weird one in your change jar could be the big one, unnoticed for years, waiting to rewrite your story. As the program fades into history and fewer high-grade examples remain unspent, values climb relentlessly, with experts predicting the best errors will rival legendary classics someday. Community buzz never stops, forums light up with new finds, photos of extra finger varieties or cut errors on the canal lines, valuations rising as grading confirms scarcity, turning hobby into investment with heart. Imagine passing down a top error to heirs, not just money but a piece of 2001 nostalgia tied to freedom's gateway. The psychology hooks deep, imperfection on a symbol of perfection yields riches, tangible proof mistakes can be golden in a flawless obsessed world. So pause next time quarters clink in your hand, flip them, feel for thickness variations, scan for shifts, your $44 million gateway might hide there. We're ramping up the intensity here, with treasures that blend history and mystery in ways that'll leave you breathless, and if you thought this 1788 New York masterpiece was staggering, hold on tight because the upcoming coin takes the unbelievable to another level, a modern marvel with flaws so profound they defy explanation and values that make this seem tame. The suspense is electric, don't even think about stopping now. Something truly earth-shattering awaits. But let's savor the New York glory longer. Beginners can start hunting with a cheap loupe, checking statue details for extra lines or thickened letters, building sets of known varieties that appreciate steadily. The design's depth, 11 stars subtly nodding to original states, canal evoking economic boom, layers meaning atop errors, making flawed examples poetic. Reports of surging modern era interest position 2001 New York at the forefront, visible anomalies drawing new collectors unlike subtle old varieties. Private vaults hold those $44 million whispers, investments blooming as stories spread. Own the hunt's joy, the what-if rush, most ignore, but you won't anymore. Check consoles, piggy banks, old purses, fortune favors the observant. One more tease, the next reveal warps time and value in mind-bending fashion, curiosity burning yet. We're just warming up. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable.